Running a small co-working space means wearing too many hats all the time. Community builder, marketer, bricklayer, chef, therapist, all at once. It's exhausting. I'm exhausted even just saying that line. That's why we started the Community Builder Cohort. It's where people who run small spaces can stop spinning their wheels and start making real progress. One member slashed their admin hours with a simple workflow shift. Another finally launched that newsletter they've been putting off for months and months. And yet another one hosted a Sunday market that reignited their local community. So if you are sick of fighting it out alone, check the Community Builder Cohort link in the show notes or get in touch with Emily or me directly. Hello folks, it is the Co-working Values podcast, and in my luxury studio today is Lauren. So Lauren, what are you known for and what would you like to be known for?
Hi, everyone. I would love to be known for digital kindness, and I'm trying really hard to be known for that because I think that we need to be human in these digital spaces because they are extensions of human expression rather than the technological or advertising marketing spaces we usually talk about them as.
I'm just, so for you viewers at home, this is like the social media one. And one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation is, like we were just talking before we came on air, how so many people we met in our lives today and things we read and everything like that came from social media. So when did you join Twitter, Lauren?
I joined Twitter, I want to say, in 2012. So I wasn't the earliest adopter for sure. I might have gone on a little bit earlier because I think a few organizations that I was working with was using it, but I didn't really know how to use it. And in 2012, I got on because I was moving to a new city and I didn't know any other way to connect with people and find out stuff about the new city. So that's what I did. And then it became, social media as a whole became transformative because of what I learned in those spaces. And that sort of got me started on the journey about talking about digital kindness because it changed, it quite literally, and I say this with much emphasis, changed my life. Social media completely changed my life.
Me too. Like I joined in 2008 and August 2008, and there's someone called Sue Butcher who's she does marketing communications for construction companies, and I was the first person she followed on Twitter, and I always joke because she did way, she's got like 30,000 people following her on Twitter, but I always thought it was like, and she was like someone like her. She joined it. This is my point actually, not that Sue Butcher followed me, but she ran an architect's practice in Suffolk, and her way of connecting with people was social media. So she just had a baby who's now at Cambridge University.
Oh, wow.
So she just had a baby, and she just couldn't meet people. And then she got into social media, and that's how this whole universe erupted. And it was saying exactly what you said before I repeat what you just said. But then for me, and this is kind of what I want to get into today, like social media just seems to have taken a very bad, not even seems, has taken a very bad turn. And I remember we used to go to Co-working Europe and other conferences, and everything in the conference would happen on Twitter. And now no one shares anything. And I don't want to say what do you think happens, because I think most people know what happened, but like what should we do now? Save us, Lauren.
Well, I think the biggest problem we have with social media as a global culture, well, maybe it might only be Western, I'm not exactly sure, but we talk about it as if it's just technology, or if it's just for marketing or advertising, or if it's just for politics. And all three of those things are like the least interesting things about social media, in my opinion. The way I see social media, and I'm agnostic as to the networks. There's different reasons why different people are drawn to different networks. Some people are visual. They like things like Instagram. Some people are word-based. They like Twitter. They like Threads. They like Blue Sky. Some people are connection-based. That's why they like LinkedIn or Facebook, right? So I don't actually care about what network we're talking about, because when we say social media, it encompasses it encompasses Reddit. It arguably encompasses things like Minecraft and having conversations while you're playing video games connected across geographies, right? So one, we don't even know what we mean when we say social media. But two, if we look at it as a human thing instead of as this disembodied technology marketing politics thing, it looks totally different. And when we start to think about it as how we approach any kind of space where humans gather in the physical world, we can think about it in very different ways about how we're using it and why we're using it and what we want out of it. Because every one of us has a completely different reason for showing up there. And those reasons have been reduced to only three things: selling stuff, talking about politics, and maybe because you're like a tech savvy adopter type person. So I just think we have to change our frame about what we're talking about when we say social media and what we want out of it. Like, to your point, a person who can't get out in public for various reasons, any number of reasons, small children, some sort of health compromised situation, like, they're very isolated physically, but they can be connected emotionally and humanly through these digital spaces. That's not something we hear talked about a lot, you know?
No, I mean, I love it, but it feels like very. I'm going to say, I mean, it feels. I'm not saying it is. Like very toxic. Like on blue sky at this moment in time feels like Twitter did in 2009, and that's because a lot of those, you know, like my mate Jon, who was the first person in the UK on Twitter and runs the Skiff in Brighton, a co-working space, is on Blue Sky, and it feels like, oh yeah, we're all back together again. But that was 15 years ago,
Yep.
which is a very long time. And what about? I don't want to say like how do we build community on social media, but like, what can we do with our communities on social media? It's a sideways
Oh,
question, sorry, but
I think you think of it as it really helps me. I'm I'm an analogy person, a metaphor person, to think about it in a way that evokes your physical space or your physical community. So how should we be using our social media spaces or digital spaces? Well, how do we use our physical spaces? So if you're the kind of person who invites a bunch of people into your home and has them sit around your living room and talk about stuff, well, then use social media that way. If you're a person who likes to throw dinner parties with topics of conversation, use social media that way, right? Like, there's not a right way to use it. So what is the way that enhances and brings value to your life, to your space, to your community? And what can you do that's different in a digital space that you can't do in a physical space also? So think about, we can expand our physical community into a digital space. The people that can't be with us physically right now for whatever reason can still participate by being part of the digital conversation or showing up in the digital space. But I think one really key and important point about how to use social media in a way that is much more human is to put our boundaries around it. So yes, the platforms, they're designed by people that aren't us, and their algorithms are controlled by people that aren't us. Those are some factors that we as an individual can't dramatically influence. But what we can do is, within the constraints of the platform that we're on, well, one, figure out which ones we like, right? Which ones feel right to us? Which ones feel more conducive to the kinds of conversations, interactivity that we would like to have? And that's going to be different for different communities and different individuals. And then two, within that platform, set up our own rules of engagement, our own rules for behavior and conduct, and what we expect from the people that participate in our corner of this platform. The same way that you might have a rule at your house that you take your shoes off at the front door. You can do that with digital spaces too. Here we respect each other. We do not write in all caps. We do not use insults. Those comments will be deleted. Like, whatever you want to do to say, this is how we're going to behave in these spaces, because this is my space, our space, and it's not for everybody to come in and do whatever they want. You're welcome to see it, and you're welcome to join if you want to be part of the conversation we're having under the terms that we are having that. But no, you don't actually belong here if you don't want to participate in the way that the rest of us that are congregating here do.
And when people are congregating and building community there, like what are the mistakes you see people making either in Discords and Slacks and on Twitters and threads and things like that. Because and I would have known the answers to this in 2014, but I'm not really sure, other than very obvious things, what I would say to people nowadays.
I think I think what's made it more complicated, and the reason that you don't have the answers now, is because every platform is different, and we don't have universal spaces anymore. I mean, not that we ever did, but they felt more universal. It felt like everybody was more or less on the same page in each of these spaces. The ones that were dominant 15 years ago, they had their cultures sort of, and you knew kind of what you were getting into once you sort of figured it out. But now there's multiple platforms. There's multiple reasons for engaging the platforms. There's multiple people having conversations. And what is especially challenging about the mainstream, the ones that we all think about, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, is that there is no curation by the platform itself. So these disparate things show up back to back. You have a celebration for somebody who just had a baby right next to a news article about a bombing in a foreign country. And the next thing in your feed is somebody talking about a local restaurant, right? Like, when we're looking at the dominant platforms, that there's all of this stuff happening, and we are all of those things also. We are people that are interested in lots of different things, and at any given point in time, one thing activates our identity in this space, another thing activates our identity in the other space. So being clear, even within a post, about what is accepted in this post is helpful, because it creates a space for that moment in time for discussion, for community, for engagement, for connection, that carves it out of all the rest of the noise happening. You have an advantage when you're in subgroups or things like a Discord or a Slack or stuff like that, because then you have a lot more capacity as the individual to control what else is happening in that space. But when we're talking about the social media networks, there's just a lot of stuff that's going to flow through it. So creating micro spaces with each post, and they can be different. I can create a micro space about a post where I'm talking about something that's happening, that's very personal, and like something medical or something, right? And I can create a different rule and a different environment and a different culture in that one post than I do for something that's about something fun happening in the community that has a different vibe and a different energy and is aimed at and is going to attract different people. They can both exist in the same platform, and they can exist on the same account, mine, but by setting boundaries around what each one is for or who I'm talking to, that helps curate that culture that you want to. It helps you explain who you're inviting and who you want to hear from, and then people know that it's safe for them to show up.
What, as you, it's the storytelling question. Because when I hear you saying, you can share your story, or we can tell different stories, is the word I'm looking for, through social media. I understand that because I've read like a abnormal amount of books on story, and I'm like, I need help. But if I'm 24-year-old community manager in Hackney in London, and you go like, tell your story through social media, I'm like, what do you mean? And like,
yeah,
that storytelling thing, how marketers ruin everything.
Yes.
Storytelling has been ruined by marketers.
Yes.
So incorporate that venom into your answer, please.
Yes. Well, my background is I have a traditional marketing background, and I have venom for the profession, though I know that it has its place. Sorry for anybody who is one. Like, we look at everything now through a lens of marketing and sales, and we shouldn't. It is an aspect of human behavior, but it's not the most important aspect, and it's certainly not the way that most of us would share our story at a dinner table, right? So when I say share your story online, I am not saying fit it into the pre-formatted, 5-paragraph essay or whatever you're supposed to do with the emojis and stuff like that to write the most captivating LinkedIn post ever, which is why Bernie, do you remember when they had LinkedIn? There was that LinkedIn post generator thingy, and it was so funny because it was so like realistic about it would do different levels of like cheese or cringe or something like that if you wanted to announce something. Was
that something built into the platform?
No, it was an external kind of AI
I'd never use anything like that, because you can just tell, like when people talk about reimagining innovative solutions for fostering a collaborative community, it's like, mate, just like get a book and a thesaurus.
And so like what you're saying about the way marketers talk about story has been flattened. Story has been flattened into something for a purpose of selling a thing. And that's not at all what I mean when I say story. Your story is everything about you. It's whatever you want to share. And sometimes it's the most idiosyncratic, weird things that you can't even really make a connection in that moment as to what that has to do with what you do every day to make a living, but it's something that connects people to you and your experience. Like part of my story is that I have long been a huge fan of the TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I used to always incorporate Buffy analogy, a quote, a story, or something anytime I was public speaking, because it meant a lot to me. It showed something about who I am and my personality, but it was also a huge connection point for other people in the audience who knew what I was talking about, or at least wanted to like ask me more. And so just yesterday, I think it was yesterday, 2 days ago, I don't know, I posted something on Threads about the fact that they're rebooting this TV show. I think that's the most people that have followed me since I started on the platform in the shortest amount of time, because it's something that people have in common. And it's not like people across all different ages and professions and geographies have it in common. So when we talk about stories, it's the things that make people see you as a person, not used for profit or for like gain. I mean, I didn't say that because I was thinking that was going to somehow boost my profile. I was saying it because I was genuinely excited about this thing, and I wanted to nerd out with people who like that too, right?
I do. Like that happens with me and David Bowie, and people always, it's taken a long time for this to get to this stage, but people are always DMing me things on like when they see a clip of Bowie or stuff like that. And
yes.
then there's people, and I've done this in the past, but they go like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then 3/4 of the way through their post, they turn it into, and like Buffy ice cream, we've got ice cream available in our co-working space for a discounted price. And it's like, don't do that. Don't do it.
No, I'll see. I mean, you might have seen me do it on LinkedIn. Sometimes I'll be like, I don't really have a reason why I'll write. I don't really have a reason why I'm telling the story. I just wanted to, period.
Like, I love, like that, because is instantly like,
I'm sure I can come up with a lesson from pretty much anything, because you can pattern recognize, you can do all sorts of stuff, but the fun and interesting thing is just somebody randomly telling you a thing because they felt like it was interesting. I get the same thing with Oreos, Bernie. I have people that, because I've long posted weird flavored. It's actually because I lived in London. I got started on weird flavored things because of all of the crisp flavors, right? From an American perspective, we didn't have that. We did not have that many flavors of things. And that sort of spun into Oreo keeps creating weird flavors. And so I buy them and I post them on social media, and I've had people, they'll be traveling in a foreign country and they will text me pictures of the Oreos in the grocery store they're in. And it's become this fun, I don't even really eat them anymore, but I find them hilarious and love to talk about them. So people know that about me, and it's created this connection, right? That people have a thing that they can talk to me about. And in a way, it's a social media version of the icebreakers you do at your meetings or whatever. But like, you don't actually have to do them if people already have those connection points, because they forge them somewhere else.
So how would you, I want to get back to the digital kindness thing, because I can feel myself, as you're talking there, I can feel like a whole list of people where I have some little thing that I've developed over the last 15 years on social media where I'll post I'll see something and go, I saw this and I thought of you, and I might not have
Yes.
done it for 3 years, and they go, how did you remember that? What? So just to rip the plaster off, we're living in a very um, interesting time, and how there's in that post, which I'm going to link to in the show notes, about the disco balls. You say that thing which is in line with Jon Alexander's "Find the Others," which is one of our riffs at the moment, and it's about there's more of us than. Is it just there's more of us? I don't want to misquote you.
Yeah, no, it's actually not my quote. It's a quote from somebody who had read my books that wrote back to me saying that they had decided they weren't going to give up a digital space
Oh,
because there
threads.
are, yeah,
Was that
they
the,
weren't going to
yeah?
give up threads because there are more of us. As I mean, their point was essentially no matter how ugly or how bad it is or whatever, there are more of us that are kind, that want to see a better world, and that these are spaces where we can connect to each other.
And so how? Sorry to ask such a sorry, I've got to say it in a silly voice so I sound cool. So Lauren, how can we practice more digital kindness in the next month?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with self-care, first of all. And I do think that it requires an assessment of how these spaces make you feel and whether you are healthfully navigating them, because everybody is different about how much information overload they can handle, how they react to people being mean generally and being mean specifically to them. So, one of the things I recommend is if one of the ways that you can be kinder in digital spaces is to make sure that the people that are being mean aren't on your space. Block them. Tell them that they're not welcome. Like, go ahead and put up the boundaries you need to be able to be your full and complete self in these spaces and to avoid the outrage that the algorithms are designed to feed us. That's just a reality of many of the dominant platforms, is that they are designed to feed us things that make us angry and that make people who are normally very kind people respond in a way that they wouldn't normally respond. So that's one. Take care of yourself first and figure out what your boundaries are. But secondly, it's not falling prey to what these algorithms are designed to incentivize. And they're designed to incentivize buying stuff and being angry about stuff. And if you can sidestep that, and I'm not saying it's easy because they're very well formulated to light up those parts of your brains that do the anger reaction instead of the thoughtful, deep reflection or connection reaction. But knowing that helps you navigate them in a different way. And so my favorite way to use them is to pour the stories of the people that are doing the good things. You know, we in America always have the Mr. Rogers quote, find the helpers. Tell those stories. Like, we have the power, every single one of us with these social media networks, to direct the attention of our network to the things we think are important and the things we want them to pay attention to. And so when you think about your social media from that perspective, what do you want people to know? What do you want people to see and think about the world? Do you want to paint a happy picture of where we can go and the people who are already doing it? Or do we want to stay in the muck that is surrounding us because every major traditional outlet talks about it all the time? We don't get to decide what goes across the front page of our local paper or our national papers, but we do decide what we put into our networks and our feeds. And slowly, as we do that, like when more and more of us do that, that becomes a story. How many times have you seen a story that starts with a whole bunch of people on this social media network are talking about this thing, right? So that's how we influence what the stories other people tell, is by telling the stories we want told.
So we can post positive vibes from our co-working and other communities every day on our social media, and it will send this butterfly ripple effect out into the social media universe.
Yeah, and it gives examples of ways to do it. People who may have never thought that they could do a co-working space the way your space is doing it, now they have an idea. Now they can go replicate or adapt in the way that makes sense for them. Like, I love this idea. It's Bernie's, I'm going to credit him, about co-working spaces as like these microcosms of the world that we want to see, that we can in a small way socially engineer this corner of the universe that we occupy to be a positive, safer, healthier, happier, inclusive place. And by showing that to more people get the idea that that's possible and try it in ways that work for them and their communities.
That is like, there's so many. I just, because I like read about this all the time. I know so many people, and do this podcast with Emily and all the other people involved in this. There's so many people doing those little things. And Janine from European Co-working Assembly for years has been saying that if you had a country and all the independently owned community-minded co-working spaces ran to one side and all the big evil corporations ran to the other, the the heaviest side, I couldn't finish that very well. That started out so beautifully. The heaviest side of the country would be all the independent places, but they haven't got we were talking about power earlier.
Yes.
And they haven't got, together they've got that power, but individually they don't have that power.
Well, and all of the structures have reinforced not knowing that about each other. And this is why when you get right down to it, I'm so optimistic about social media, despite all of the negativity that you hear about it, is that it is the thing that allows us to know about all of the other people that are doing the good things. It's why Jon Alexander's book, Citizens and the Citizens Movement, is so important, because he gathered those stories. He put those stories in one place, and he's amplifying more stories throughout digital networks and through in-person gatherings. Like, that's what makes social media so powerful to me, is that it's our power to tell different stories and to know different stories, so that we know that we're not alone. There really are more of us. We just haven't been able, until this type of technology, to find that out about each other on a global scale.
Yep. There's I kind of went off social media for, I think it was like the first term of Trump and Brexit all at the same time was just, killed it for me. But I've really got back into it in the last, probably this year, because I've met more positive people talking about, I kind of thought it was over, actually, to be honest. And then I don't know what I mean by over, so don't ask me any more questions about that. But I'm much more encouraged about what's going on, and not just from that kind of businessy LinkedIn thing. Is the connections is amazing. Where is there anything you wish I'd asked you and I haven't, that you just want to shoehorn into the end of the podcast?
Oh man, I know I'm always supposed to have that answer ready, right?
No, it's not. It's not like a cunning piece of oh my god, yes. If we just eat one avocado less, we can change the world. It's just, it might be something. You're going, mate, you're going to ask me this question or not?
I don't know about a question, but I think the thing that I've really come around to lately, and it sort of follows along, your statement about Brexit and the first term of Trump. It is very easy to get bogged down in all of the negative stuff, because it's everywhere, and it's what we've mostly been programmed to notice, to see, and to think is important. But right now, the thing that we need most, all of us need most, are the people who know things to talk about those things in digital spaces, on social media. Because with trust eroding in traditional institutions and traditional media outlets, the only way we really do know things is from the people that are in our networks that we trust, that we know, and the people that they trust and know, because by extension, we trust them. So it does matter that we use these spaces, and that whatever it is that you are an expert on, or that you care a lot about because you know more about it than most people, sharing that in social media spaces means that your network then sees it, and their network, parts of it, will see it. That's how these ripple effects happen, and then they start to overlap. That's how you connect with other people who are thinking along the same lines, or who are trying to accomplish similar things in your space or in other spaces. There are these signals, beacons that we put out there to find the others that are like us or that are similar, and to encourage each other that we can co-create a better world, and we can turn the tides that seem like they're a little scary or a little dark by what we do in these spaces, and then how we carry it out into the physical world too.
Beautiful. That's what I came for, Lauren Hug. Where can we find you online?
My digital spaces, I hang out in LinkedIn and on Threads. I'm at Hug Speak on Threads. On LinkedIn, my name is Lauren Hug. I also have my own website, which is laurenhug.com, but it's under construction. It's not perfect, so be kind.
We are, and so we publish this on Substack, ladies and gentlemen. And
oh yeah, that. I'm also on Substack. I forgot about that one.
Actually, I only got you in here because I know you're big on Substack. So when I post this on Substack, I can put you as a co-author, and it will game the algorithm. But if you seriously, we went to Substack because there's a lovely community feel there. There's all the notes and everything. There's a lot of people on this podcast who are also on Substack, so we get to connect with people there. And when you follow us on Substack, you can still get to Apple, Spotify, and all those places, but you also get an email every time we publish this on on Tuesday and Thursday. So this goes out twice a week, and it's all part of getting people connected. So come and find us on Substack, and more of you are. Is there anything else we need to say before we go?
No, I think it's great. I love that you just said that about Substack. I think it's a great community building tool. It
is. It's so in our every episode I say this, folks, we have extensive show notes where we link to like so many things we talked about in here, and all that kind of getting together and finding the others. There's Sam, Ashley, and Hector are running the Co-working Alliance Summit in the first week of March, and there's a link in the show notes to that. And coming up, one of the things we're always talking about is European Co-working Day, and that is when lots of people are getting together to run open doors days in their co-working spaces, and we'll be running a kind of like every 2 weeks a call so people can get together and talk about how to run better events in their co-working space so you don't go it alone. So there's a lot of stuff we talked about in this podcast that you can sort of put into action with other people to move towards European Co-working Day. And the first session of that will be live in person at the Workspace Design Show, where we're going to have a kickoff thing if you happen to be in London at the right time. So wherever you are in the world, ladies and gentlemen, be careful out there. It is a jungle.